Top 10 serial killers in the world. You may have heard of some notable serial killers, but we are sure, if you were to count them, they won't exceed your first 5 fingers. That's because some of the most notorious serial killers did not make it mainstream, purely because of how vicious they truly are. But go ahead and write some names in the comments that you think made it to the list, and we will see how you do. Before we head in though, if you are new, welcome to 1%. Here we share only factual information, and today we are here to tell you about the top 10 serial killers in the world. If you like such content, please leave a like and subscribe, as it helps with the algorithm. Now, without further delays, let's jump into it. On number 10, we have Jack the Ripper. First off, we have someone who might cause many of you to argue his existence. Since Jack was never caught, he got his legendary mark of fear ingrained in the crime history of England. He had over hundreds of victims and haunted the streets of London in the 1880s. His main targets were prostitutes, whose throats he cut sadistically and mutilated them, showing his unexplained grudge against them. He sent several letters to the London Metropolitan and taunted them with his cruel acts. He may be just a legend, but these murders did happen, and whoever was behind it all was a serial killer indeed. His expertise hinted towards his profession being a butcher or a surgeon. On number 9, we have Luis Garavito, Colombia's worst serial killer, who had at least 300 victims. He used to tempt young boys between the age of 6 to 16 with money, food and other essentials, only to kill them after mercilessly raping and torturing them. Luis only admitted 238 acts of crime, and it is believed that he did hundreds more. But even without admitting to them, Luis got prisoned in 1999 for 1,853 years and 9 days. He has his name in the Guinness Book of World Records, but for the most heinous reasons. And it's his bloodlust and perversion that has made him one of the most notorious serial killers. On number 8, we have Daniel Camargo. Camargo was one of the most notorious criminals in Ecuador. He killed around 150 girls, whom he lured from poor families. He would rape them and kill them, oftentimes by strangling. He was arrested in 1974 in Colombia and went to prison for 25 years. Unfortunately, he escaped in 1984 and ran away again to Ecuador, where he continued his heinous acts. He was soon arrested there and sentenced to 16 years. In 1994, he was killed by a fellow inmate who was the nephew of one of the girls that Camargo had murdered. On number 7, we have Herman Mudgett, a name many of you true crime lovers would definitely be familiar with. Herman Mudgett is notorious for killing around 200 people, and the way he did it was nothing less than creative, almost like a horror novel. He bought a 2-story building which he turned into his murder castle. Prior to that, he had already killed many people, but this has just made him do it in a more entertaining way. It is not an understatement saying he is the real inspiration for many murder house novels. On number 6, we have John Johnson, also known as the liver-eating Johnson. John was notorious for killing around 300 members of the Native American cow tribe of Montana. He did that to avenge his wife, who was killed by one of the members. His hatred was so intense that he resorted to sadistic and gruesome killing, and went as far as to eat the livers of his victims. The ending bit is still not confirmed though, but there must be a reason for his name. The more shocking thing is how he was never punished for his heinous acts. In fact, he lived to retirement in California and died of natural causes. On number 5, we have Pedro Lopez, the monster of the Andes. Killed over 350 people, all of which were underage girls. His span of killing started in 1969 and was believed to have ended in 2002. He killed and raped many underage girls, and he was arrested several times before being declared insane and admitted to a psychiatric hospital. He was released later in 1998 and he is still alive. He has been suspected of murdering several other girls after his release, but his whereabouts are still unknown. On number 4, we have Jeffrey Dahmer, perhaps the only character on this list who everyone already guessed. Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as Milwaukee Cannibal, committed his first murder at just the age of 18. He went on to give in to his bloodlust over the coming decade, and even indulged in necrophilia, along with eating humans. He was caught when a victim overpowered him and reported him. Jeffrey's victims were mainly young men of colored skin. he is undoubtedly one of the most notorious criminals to ever exist, as his murders and thoughts are documented to the minute details, even having a new Netflix show with his name. He gave his own description of the murders, cannibalism and necrophilia, which piqued the interest of serial killers among the masses. He was then sentenced to 927 years of imprisonment in 1992, but was killed by a fellow inmate after 2 years. The reason we have even true crime as an entertainment genre is literally because of this guy. Therefore, even though his kills fall short to others on the list, he had the most impact out of any. On number 3, we have Peter Niers. Let's go back in history, back to the Holy Roman Empire, and we will have our first serial killer, with a body count of almost 550. He robbed, murdered, and even cannibalized many of his victims, some of which were said to be pregnant females. Due to the terror he caused throughout the southwestern parts of the Holy Roman Empire, he was caught and executed using the breaking wheel in 1581, a gruesome death befitting a killer as inhumane and awful as Peter Niers. On number 2, we have Gilles de Rais. Although he was considered by many as a wealthy nobleman, the reality is different. Gilles is perhaps history's first known serial killer, having killed around 600 people in the 1430s to the 1440s. He was the lord, knight and commander in the French army during the 100 Years' War, but could not keep control of his bloodlust. He killed, raped and kidnapped many young boys and girls throughout northwestern France. Even though society at that time favored the rich, Gilles was arrested for his gruesome acts and hanged to death in 1440. Here is a fun fact: Gilles was a companion in arms to Joan of Arc and fought alongside her. Similar to John, he also met a grim fate for different obvious reasons. On number 1, we have Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess, a name befitting the most notorious serial killer in history. She was the Countess of the noble Bathory family in Hungary. Born in 1590, she started her killings throughout the 1590s to the 1610s. Her body count stands at a staggering number of over 650 people, all of which were women. She killed these poor people in the Castes castle, torturing and murdering many young women and girls alike, most of which were orphans, widows or peasants. She was arrested in 1610 and sentenced to life in prison. However, she died just 4 years in, and her killing spree finally came to an end. That's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe, and turn that notification bell in. Also, share your thoughts on how many names you guessed correctly. There are many names we did not mention here, due to these killers having either more notoriety or more murders. We can write the names of dictators, but the list focuses only on individual people. In the meantime, you can check out this video on the top 10 strongest militaries in the world. Until next time, stay safe.